What's up, guys, and welcome to my fourth review in my series of Pirates of the Caribbean reviews leading up to Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, which opens a week today, next Friday, which my review for the film will be up in a week today. So, let's get started talking about the fourth installment on Stranger Tides, which is the first film in the series not to be directed by Gore Verbinski. This one is directed by Rob Marshall. And we only get three of the returning cast, three of the original cast returning in this film. We just get Jack, Barbossa, and Gibbs, and a slew of new characters that are not really developed and we just don't care about at all, really. In the circumstance, we don't care about at all. I don't think it's a secret I've alluded to in the past that On Stranger Tides is my least favorite film in the Pirates of the Caribbean series. Now, when I first saw this movie in 2011, I wasn't on YouTube, I wasn't doing anything like that, and I just remember sitting there watching it, coming off of, At World's End, which is my personal favorite. I loved it, the scope, the epicness of that film, and then coming into this, I was very excited, and this movie was such a letdown to me because it's not very exciting, it's not very fun. It's just overall a very dull film. Now, this isn't a bad movie. It's an okay film. I wouldn't even say it's a fine film. I would say it's an okay film. Now, just from the beginning of the film, I would say the first 18 minutes of the movie I actually enjoyed because it felt very reminiscent of the first three and the way they kicked off the plot, and Jack is impersonating this judge and all this kind of stuff, and the opening action sequence and Daylight, it's very nice and all of that. But once we get into the pub and he starts talking to his dad about the Fountain of Youth and everything, the film just starts to go downhill for me because there's so many problems. If you sit there and try to actually dissect this film, because there's no excitement, there's no fun, so you're trying to grasp at anything you can, really. And when you start to do that, a lot of things you start to notice and say, that doesn't even work, or why is this even happening? Because they set up the fact that Angelica, played by Penelope Cruz, in the beginning of the film, she is impersonating Jack Sparrow, and she's going around London or whatever, and she's dressed up as Jack. Now, if you really think to yourself, why is she doing that? Is she doing that so we could get all these people on the Queen Anne's Revenge because they need a crew, so she's just dressing up as him? Is that the reason? I guess that's the reason, and Jack just happened to be in London. I suppose that's the reason, but I don't even know. It's kind of silly, to be honest with you, I think, anyway. Because in that first scene that we see the two together, and they're fighting each other, half the time you can't even tell who's who, because it's so dark. The action, 95% of the action in this film takes place in a dark environment. B, the color palette they used for the film is like diluted as well. So I remember seeing this movie in the theater in 3D, and you could really barely see nothing because half of the action just takes place in the darkness. And that might have worked if the cinematography was a little better. But that is the plot of the film. We're looking for the Fountain of Youth. That is what we have to do. So it's more like an adventure film. Because we have Jack, and he gets on the Queen Anne's Revenge, and him and Angelica and Blackbeard and all of them, they're going to find the fountain. We also have Barbossa looking to find the fountain. He's with Gibbs, which kind of was a little ridiculous as well because Gibbs steals the charts from Jack. And, Barbossa sees this or whatever, and he knows, and he's like, hand the charts over or whatever, I'm going to hang you. And Gibbs decides to burn the maps. And he says, that he's memorized every single bit of coordinates in there, and every route and every destination, and he says it's all safe in his mind. But that just doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, did he have that much time to memorize all of that? Maybe he was just trying to go with Barbossa, and just trying to, escape being, hanged or whatever the case may be. But then you would think to yourself, Barbossa would then say, okay, Gibbs knows where we're going. So you would think that he would ask Gibbs for directions, but the next time we see them, they're already on the ship and they're going somewhere, which we could assume is to the Fountain of Youth. And then back on the Queen Anne's Revenge, I guess Blackbeard and Angelica were going to the Fountain of Youth as well. But did they really need Jack Sparrow? Because if you think about it, if she was dressed up as Jack in the beginning of the film to fool other people to think that she was the real Jack, so they would be part of their crew, that's great. It really didn't have anything to do with Jack at all. But that's kind of what I got from it. So when they're on the ship, they never ask Jack for directions. They know straight where they're going. They know that they're going to Whitecap Bay for the mermaid tier. They know the ritual, and that's fine. And they get to the island. But only when they get to the island, that's when they start having Jack open up his compass. It seems like when they're on the ship, they just automatically know where they're going and what island they're going to. It's kind of dumb, to be honest with you. And the same thing happens with Barbossa's crew. Nobody really starts asking for directions until they get on land. You know what I mean? Like, was I missing something, or what was really happening there? I didn't really get it. And Blackbeard's ship, it comes to life and everything, and it was just kind of, you don't care, honestly. You don't really care. The whole entire circumstance of this film is you don't care, because it's a story that we don't care about, and it's filled with characters that are just underwhelming and dull, and we don't care about. They try to set up this relationship between Jack and Angelica, but it doesn't really work. It's just kind of dull, it's just thrown in there. You could tell that it's forced. And then they probably were like, oh, is that not going to work? So let's throw in another love interest, and let's have the religious guy fall in love with a mermaid. Characters that we don't care about at all. So let's just make them fall in love with each other, just to add more to the film, which it really doesn't. It just makes it more blah, like, who really cares? Then you have these Spanish people trying to find the Fountain of Youth as well, because he's looking for eternal life. And it's just like, oh, okay, they show up at the end of the film like, oh, all right, hi guys, you're here too. Why don't you just come and destroy everything, and you'll just do your thing, you'll just be there to be there. It was kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't mind that several parties are searching for the Fountain of Youth, but at least they could have given them a little more, oomph to them. The only character that you really care about in this film is Barbossa, in my opinion anyway, is because we get to know what happened to him after the third movie, and with the Black Pearl. It's been put in a small glass bottle, and we find out that Blackbeard's ship pretty much turned the Black Pearl against the crew, and it was wrapping around them like stakes, as Barbossa said. That's one of the best parts of the movie, is when Barbossa tells Jack the story of what happened. And he says he had to cut off his leg because he's the master of his fate, and that's why he's dressed up like this. He wants to find Blackbeard, and he wants to kill him. And I liked that. That was a very nice plot point. That was the best bit of storytelling in the whole movie, is Barbossa's motivation. Everything else, Jack doesn't really have a motivation. He's just there to be Jack Sparrow, you know what I mean? He could come and he could go, and he could do what he needs to do, but he doesn't really have a story in the film. He's just Jack Sparrow. And I guess Angelica is trying to save her father, who is Blackbeard, from dying, so she wants to sacrifice herself, I guess, and to have him drink the liquid that would give him eternal life or whatever. It's all kind of cloudy. I think one of the main issues with this film is the screenplay is very weak. There's really nothing to latch onto in this movie. It's just a bunch of blah, with no consequence to it. Really, it's nothing that really happens. And it's unfortunate to say. Look, I don't love this movie, but I don't hate the film. Like, I think the last 7 minutes, no, I'd say the last 5 minutes of the film is good as well. I'm not going to say 7 minutes, because the film is 2:07 without end credits. And at 2 hours and 2 minutes in, when we cut back to Jack taking Angelica to the island to kind of mutiny her or whatever the case may be, and abandon her and give her one pistol with one shot. You know, that was fine, and it was nice. And then we get a great moment to where they're about to kiss, and he says, "I gotta go." He runs away. The music starts to play. The great score starts to play, and then the next scene with Barbossa, I thought was okay, because where do the clothes really come from? You know, he gets his costume back, and the hat is below decks. You know, when Barbossa escaped the Black Pearl and he survived, did he have to take his clothes off so the Queen Anne's Revenge would be able to have the clothes in the bottom of the ship? You know, does that really make sense? No, it doesn't. Like, where did the clothes come from? Where do they come from? You know, like, was he wearing them underneath all along? Like, I don't really get it. I have no idea. And then the last thing in the film with Jack and Gibbs, you know, that was very nice, and I did enjoy that. And then the film ends, you know, and that's it. It was a very underwhelming film after watching it again. I do like the movie. I don't love the movie. I think overall I enjoy the first 18 minutes and the last 5 minutes. So I enjoy 23 minutes of the movie. Like, I really enjoy 23 minutes of the film, and maybe a little more than that. You know, the scene with Jack and Barbossa and the palm tree escape and everything when he's telling him the story. You know, I liked that too. So maybe like, I don't know, 27 minutes of the movie I really enjoyed, half hour maybe, something like that. But look, overall, I'm going to give On Stranger Tides 3 out of 5 stars. I think the film is, like I said, I think it's just okay. So guys, what do you think about Pirates of the Caribbean On Stranger Tides? Comment your thoughts in the comment section. Are you excited for Dead Men Tell No Tales? What do you think about the trailers? Are you excited for it? Comment below. And like I said, my review for that film will be up a week today, and you could subscribe to this channel for that. Also, guys, you could follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description of this video, and you can follow me on Snapchat at RyanKing72, and on Instagram at KingOfRises131. Guys, as I said, my reviews for the first 3 films are up on this channel now, so you can check those out. Guys, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching my review for Pirates of the Caribbean On Stranger Tides. Over and out.
Part of the plan, yes?
No.